All right, welcome back. This is going to be video number 2. This is going to focus on importing your images, also known as ingest. So that's I-N-G-E-S-T. Whether somebody uses importer or ingest, it doesn't make a difference. It's basically doing the same thing. Ingest really focuses more on adding metadata to the image, and you'll see when we do that, I'll talk about it. So there are two ways to get your import window up. First, you need to put your card in your computer or a card reader, and you can click this import. But what we're going to do is I'm going to take my card. I'm just going to stick it into my card reader right now, and you're going to see what happens. Now, to do this, you must have Lightroom Classic open first and then put your card in. And if you do that, when the card is read by the computer, it should automatically launch the import window. Now, normally the photos will show up right away, but I've downloaded some images off the internet so everybody can use these for the tutorials. And I'm going to have to tell this program a little bit about what I want it to do, but normally it would automatically select this EOS digital that we have right here. If your EOS digital does not show up on the left-hand side, you can click on this and it will give you options. If it says no disk is present and you don't see it around here, you just might need to reinsert your disk and it should pop up. The way this works is this is your memory card and you're going to transfer the images to a new location. Right now, this is just the internal hard drive, but we're going to switch that. And you can do that in two different methods. One is to copy the images from here to here, or you can copy as a DNG, which is a digital negative. And I'll talk more about that when I do it. So the first thing that we need to do here is click on the EOS digital, but I'm going to show you the other method first. So I'm just going to go ahead and hit done. If that didn't auto pop up, which it doesn't sometimes, you can just simply click import. It does the exact same thing. No need to go through the process. So I'm going to go ahead and click my EOS digital. Now, normally this would launch it, but because I just dropped a bunch of random files that aren't all from the same type of camera, it's not really understanding what to do. So I'm going to come down here and actually click on this folder because that's where the images reside. And if anybody wants to know where I got these images, I'm going to have a link in the description and you can go find them on the site. These are all raw photos. You can download them. And as we do this series, you can work along with me with the exact same images. And if I download a couple new ones, for some reason, I will have the direct link as well. All right. So by default, it highlights and selects all images. Notice everything is highlighted and has this little tick in the tick box. If I want to uncheck them all, I can hit uncheck and now nothing is selected. So if I was to import right now, nothing would go into this drive over here. Well, why? Because nothing is selected. You can hit check all and it will automatically check them all. I do not go through and pick the ones at this point that I want and don't want, because usually I have hundreds and I don't want to spend the time now to do it because there's a faster, better way in culling to do that same process. But if you did want to do that, you could simply just come in here and tick any little box that you wanted. All right. You can do a shift click, and that means you click on the first image, you hold shift. And this is linear, so if I wanted to go down to here, I hold shift and click. It's going to select all those. But however, notice there's no little check mark. All you need to do is put a check mark in one of the boxes and it will put them in all of them. But that only works for a linear selection. You can't do like individual ones. You need to just come in here and do that. All right. If you want to do it a different way, we'll just do uncheck. We can come in here and we can highlight the different images. And in this case, I'm going to be holding my command key. It would be control on a PC, and you can select the ones that you wanted and then tick a box, and that's what will be selected. But in this case, we're going to select our everything. So this is saying I want all these images and I want to copy them over here. And I'm going to now change that location. So I'm going to click on this and I'm going to go to right here because that's the location I want. This is an external hard drive, and this external SSD is really fast. and it's for all my working files, meaning anything that I'm working on, I put in this location. Now, this is going to screw up the process that I've kind of been avoiding for a little bit, which is cataloging in Lightroom. So cataloging is good for lots of people. It's just not good for me, because once I'm done with these photos, I'm going to delete them and move them from this hard drive to a server. So they're going to be gone. The way cataloging works is it remembers the path. So the path is the location, and we can see the path here. So my path for this drive is volumes, EOS digital, DCM, this folder, and then these photos are inside it. The path for this is Macintosh hard drive, volumes, and this external hard drive. That's the path. If you change the path, Lightroom can't find your photos anymore. And if you remember those exclamation marks that we saw from before, and I'll flash one up here on the screen now, that means it remembers the preview, but it has no idea where the file actually resides now. So because it catalogs, it has to have the images reallocated, or in this case, since I've moved them, put back on the hard drive so I can use them again. Not a huge fan of cataloging. I wish we could turn cataloging off and just use Lightroom straight. In my case, that would help me out. So what cataloging does is, as you copy the images over, it remembers everything about it. What is the file name? What is the folder name? What is the metadata that you add to that image? So right here is some metadata, and if I put edit preset, we can see metadata is all this information that you can fill out here. And for me, in real life, I fill out a lot of this. Any information that you associate with an image, cataloging will remember that. We took these photos, and let's say we shot all these in Spain. So if I put that the country was Spain, and then a year later, I wanted to look for the images that I took in Spain, not in this window, but in the library window, I could come over here and I could search for those images. So if we go to this, you'll notice that there's a text area. And if I click on text, I can come over here and I could type in Spain, and it would find all the images that are from Spain. Well, I don't have any from Spain right now, so it's not finding anything. All right, so we're back to where we just were. Cataloging makes it really easy to find images and create collections, to do all kinds of really cool stuff. However, in a case like mine, I am changing the path all the time, so it doesn't function well for me. Now, if you do move your image, it doesn't mean that you have to re-import them. I will be showing you how to find and tell the computer where you've moved the images to. But it is important that you understand what cataloging is and what it does, because it can cause you problems. So we've got the images here on our card, and we're going to move them to this hard drive. And now, before we hit done or import, we need to tell the computer what we want them to do. So we want to build previews. And if we remember in the preferences, I said we're going to override this. So we can do minimal, which is not anything any good, embedded sidecar previews, standard previews, or full size previews. I do standard. Try the other ones out if you want, but I use standard. Build smart previews. I do not use that. Don't import suspected duplicates. Okay, because it catalogs, if you have this button checked, it won't import images that it's already imported. So you can see I've already imported this image at a previous time, and it recognizes the photo, and it's not going to let me re-import the images multiple times. One of the issues is people never take their photos off their SD card and reformat it. So they keep importing the same images over and over and over again. They've got like 20 versions of the same thing on their hard drive. So that will stop that from happening. In my case, I don't like that, so I'm going to get rid of it. Now, right here, we moved our images to this location. You could actually do it to 2 different locations at the same time. And that would be by clicking this little button right here, and then you could click it and pick a new location. In this case, we don't want to do that. If you wanted to add your images to a collection, you could select this button and then you would pick the collection. I'll explain collections in another video. Renaming, and this is one of my favorites. I always rename my files so that they mean something to me. We're going to assume, because all these are just random different images, that these are all pictures of my dog, okay? And let's say my dog's name is Jack. So they're my dog, Jack. When I create a file name, I want to have Jack in there because that's telling the computer what these images are about. If I just had the straight number, like right here where it says IM0958CR2, that doesn't mean anything. So I'm never going to remember that little IM in that number to find that image. But if I named it Jack, it makes it much easier to find those images, whether you're using cataloging or not. So in this case, I'm going to do custom name and sequence. So I'm going to come in here. I'm going to hit text. Remember, we're going to assume these are my dog Jack, even though they're not my dog Jack. It's going to start with the number 1. The next one's going to be 2, 3, 4, 5. All right. And extensions, leave as is, but you could change it, but I'm just going to use leave as is. So now you can see my files are going to be jack-1.nef. And this one's going to be jack.2.nef, and so on. All right, so that's renaming the file, not the folder, the file. We're going to rename the folder. Develop settings. These are for presets, and you could apply any of these to the images as you import them. I don't really know why anybody would want to do this unless you were going to convert them to black and white. But the problem with presets are they work, but they don't work perfectly for every single image. So even though you apply a preset, you're still going to have to go in and adjust it. So I'd just rather leave my images normal because I can just go in and click on this image and then click on the preset and it'll apply it. It's much easier. But if you did, for some reason, want to apply a preset, you could do that. Now, right here are your metadata files, and you can do some pre-filled out ones. And what I'll do is I'll just go ahead and do the JCW one. That's my one. And then I'll go edit preset. And this is my name. And this allows you to come in here and apply stuff to the metadata. Now, this is written on every single file. However, it is written in the one thing that everybody hates, which is the .xmp file. So as you import these images and add metadata, so the computer is going to automatically create 2 files. One is going to be jack-1.nef, and then right below it, it's going to be jack-1.xmp. The XMP is just a text file. And because I am shooting raw photos, and this has to do with raw photos only, it's going to create this sidecar file. And what that sidecar file does is hold all the information that you could fill out in this field. And it's going to save all your file names and all that stuff. And because it's a raw file, when you go in and start making adjustments to the raw image, it stores all the adjustments that you make in that .xmp file, which is a good thing. So when you open that image up again, you don't have to re-edit it or readjust it every single time that you open it up. The file is going to look at that XMP file and apply the adjustments that you made to it, so you don't have to do everything over. It's a teeny tiny file. It doesn't mess things up. However, if it drives you nuts, you can convert your files to a digital negative, which I talked about before, which is a DNG file. If you get a certain type of DNG file, it will embed the XMP file inside of it, so you won't get that extra file. So if it drives you nuts, you can do that. You can convert everything to an XMP file. All right, so for my case, I'm just going to use that one. That's going to embed that. If I want to add some keywords, so like Jack, dog, since they were my dog, I can add any keywords. Those are also going to be applied. The next thing that we have here is destination. We've picked the destination up here, but this is just the hard drive. I want the files, these, to actually go into a folder. This is where you want to pick into one folder, which I have. By normal, it's on by date, okay? The problem with by date is if you shot these two images one day and then these images on another day and these images on another day, it will literally create folders within folders within folders and organize everything by date. And you'll be clicking on folders and trying to find stuff for eternity. It's not a method that I like. I just want everything to go into one folder. So we pick into one folder. I'm going to click on the highlighted box into subfolder. And this is where I can give that folder a name. We're going to call this, and this is very specific. You can do this any way that you want. This is just the method I use. I always use the date first. So today is August 22nd. So I would do 08/22/2022. All right. Now that would be fine. You cannot, and you will see this because it won't like it, use the backslash. See how it turned it red right there? That red means you can't use that type of character in a folder name. So if you want to have those separated, you can use dashes or an underscore. You just can't use the forward slashes when you're doing a date or a folder name. So that's the date. You can do it either way. I don't usually use the dashes. This makes it easy for me to find stuff because I usually remember about when I shot something. Then I'm going to do another dash. I'm going to do the name that I call the files, like what the files were about. So remember, in this hypothetical circumstance, they're of my dog Jack. So we're going to call Jack. And that's it. Now, some people put their initials. You can put other stuff in there. It doesn't make a difference, but you should label all your folders exactly the same. Once you're done, you're ready to go and you hit import. Now, if you remember, I said ingest earlier. It's similar but different. What the ingest is doing is adding this metadata. It's importing that, and usually there's a whole bunch of different fields. So the ingest is meaning it's an addition of metadata into the file as you process it. If you had this on none, it's really just importing the images, but we're ingesting other data into that file. So that's what ingest stands for. So once you're done with all this, you would come down here and hit import. Oh, one thing that I forgot to talk about, there's a little box up here that says eject after import. I actually check that little tick mark. And what that means is after you've imported your images, it will dump your SD card so it's safe to take out of your computer. Otherwise, you would have to manually do that. I just like to take a moment to say the YouTube algorithm really likes it when you watch the whole video, you like the video, and you comment on the video. If you're finding the information in any of these videos helpful, if you could please give me a thumbs up, that would be wonderful. If you would like to subscribe and get future videos as they come up, because I'm going to be doing a whole series on Lightroom right here, that would be great as well. I'm going to hit cancel because I'm going to show you the second method. I actually already have these images on my hard drive, so I don't want to download them again. But you would just hit this and it would copy and render the previews in the program. You'll see it because we're going to just do it a different way. So I'm going to hit cancel. Now, if you've already put the images on a hard drive, in my case, they're on the internal hard drive of my computer in my downloads, I can hit import and I can go find those images. So those images are going to be on my hard drive, users, in my downloads. So if I go to downloads, Lightroom tutorial, so I'll go ahead and select that and you can see there's the images. So these images have already been moved to a hard drive, which is an internal hard drive. And now what you'll see is now it shows up as add, not copy. Add means you're adding them to the catalog, meaning it's going to just add them to the catalog and render the preview. All right, so in this second method, remember, our images are the same. However, they're already on our hard drive. We're going to add them to the catalog in this case. So we don't have as much stuff over here to change. If you do this and you manually add them, notice that we can't change the file names, but we still can add metadata. So we're going to still use the standard build previews. We're not going to do any of this stuff here. We're going to use the same metadata. We can apply keywords, and then we're going to go ahead and hit import. Now the difference is you're not going to see copy as. So normally you would say copy, meaning it was copying the images to the new location. Since this is an ad, it's just adding them to the catalog and building the previews. And when the previews are done, this little taskbar will disappear. Now, even though it's still working, we can start working on the images. Now, I don't usually work like this, but I don't want my thumbnails here and my thumbnails down here because that doesn't make any sense. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to click on this window to make it a single window. And now any image that I click on is going to be displayed up here. And that's how you import or ingest into Adobe Lightroom Classic. Well, hopefully you found this video helpful. In the next video, I'm going to show you how to do a process called culling or tagging in Lightroom. We do have a Facebook group, and there's a very specific reason I created this. If you want the information, it's in the description below. But a lot of comments I get, people are asking me questions and I cannot help them because I need to see what the issue is. Facebook allows you to either post an image or a video, and it makes it really easy for me to give you the answer to whatever your problem is.